Okay, so we've got our piece finished, and we have both ends. Now what we're going to do is turn it over, and we're going to look, we're going to hold this out where we do the stockinette, because that will tend to roll. So we're going to pull it out, and we're going to see where that decrease starts, where that angle is. I'm going to hold that, and then I'm going to go on the other side and find that same place. And I'm going to hold those two sides together. I want right sides out, and I'm looking, going, okay, this looks pretty good. And as I roll this out, this looks pretty good. So we're all pretty even. So now we just need to seam these two together. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to seam this top section. And all we're going to do is going from the top of our ribbing, our top cuff, down to where we ended our ribbing. Okay, just that little space. And to do that, we're going to take our darning needle, which these can be plastic, they can be metal, they can be have a bent in like this, they can be straight. It doesn't matter, whatever you have and whatever you're comfortable using. The only thing, do not use an embroidery needle that has a sharp point. You want a blunt end on it. So to thread this, it would take forever to get this yarn through this. Even though it's a big eye hole, it's crazy. So what you can do is you can take your needle, go through the yarn and make it fold over itself. And I don't know why I'm doing this left-handed. But over itself, and then it will just go right in the loop. Okay? So there you have your yarn threaded. Now, you want to make sure that the right side of your fabric is out. And we are going to seam these together using a technique called the mattress stitch. So we're going to butt the ends together. And this is called the mattress stitch. We use it a lot on sweaters. But we're going to, in between, you can see these purl stitches. If we look beside them, there are bars that go across, that purl bump. I want you to pick that one up, because I want to go on the opposite side where your yarn is attached. And pick up that purl bump. Then I want you to go on the other side, and this side, and this might be different on yours, you know, because it depends on what you started with, a knit or a purl. You are going to look in this V, and there's going to, right inside that V, if you put your darning needle in there, you're going to see a bar that goes across the stitch. That is what we want to grab. So we're going to grab that one, and we're going to pull it through. We're not going to go tight. We're going to go loose right now. Now we're going to look, see where that came out. We're going to go underneath that to the next stitch, and we're going to grab that bar, and we're going to lightly pull it across. Then we look and go, okay, let's get the next V stitch, which is down here. I'm going to grab it. It looks pretty, my ends weren't very good. When you're doing this on the ends, it's kind of, it looks a little messy. If I was doing a sweater, I would go into these V's so you can really see it. But we don't want a whole bunch of bulk right in here for our seam. So that's why it looks like this. So next I'm going to grab my next bar across and my next V stitch. When I look across here, I'm going to check to make sure that I'm pretty lined up. So this time I'm not going to go into this one, I'm going to go into this bar. And over to this V. See where that V is? Right in the middle of that V, there's a bar. So I'm going to get that. And go over here, and I'll take this one that goes across. And this V, that will be the last one on this side. And then the last one, I'll just pick up this one right here. Okay, so it looks like it's been laced up. Now this is where the magic happens. We're gonna zip this all together. So holding the end where you started, you are going to gently pull this tail, and you're going to see it just zips right together. Now you wanna do this slowly, and you don't wanna pull it really tight because you don't want it to dip in. So now it just looks like it kind of blends in. And then on the back, you can see where we stitched those two together. Okay, so now your flat piece is now round and attached. So since our thumb is going to come out here, I want to reinforce this. So I'm going to go in and out the same hole on one on each side. I'm going to go round once, and then the second time I'm just going to pull the yarn through the back, and I'm going to leave it. We're going to weave those ends in a little bit, but for now we're going to leave it. So now it really looks funny, but you can try it on at this point, and you can see that yes, it goes over your hand, and that this part, when we pull it out, when we unravel this, that is where your thumb's going to come out. Okay? So let's get this bottom section ready. Okay, so the tail on mine is a little bit shorter than what I would like. If that's the case on yours, no problem. You can cut another longer piece, and we can use that to weave it up. I thought this way you could see if you have a tail to use, or if you don't have a tail to use, how to seam it up. Same thing, we're going to thread that and use it just like we would the tail. This time, we are going to make sure our ends are lined up. We're going to do the same thing. Go from the bottom up, if you like, if you have a separate piece of yarn, or you can go from the top down if you have a separate piece of yarn. That's totally up to you. But I'm going to do it just like we would if it was attached. So same thing, we're going to open it up. Now it gets a little fiddly this way because we've already closed off this end. But we're going to do the same thing. And when I look on here, I'm going to grab this part and these bars, okay? So on this side, it's the opposite. Since I'm starting with just a new piece of yarn, I'm going to go in that end, and I'm not pulling it all the way through. I'm going to leave quite a bit of tail. And I'm going to go onto the other side, and I'm going to find one of those bars that go across. I'm going to pick it up. And just leave that like that, loose. Now, okay, I'm going to go pick up a bar on this side and a bar over here. Now sometimes on these end stitches, they may not look so pretty, and that's okay. We can't be pretty all the time, right? Just make sure you're consistent on the row that you're picking up, if that makes sense. I'm just going to go through here. Like I said before, if you're working on a project where the seams can be a little bit bigger, it's easier to find them because you're going right in the middle of each of the stitches, but this one's a little bit different. That's okay, because we're adaptive, we're knitters. We work with what we have. Also, when you're knitting, you will come to find that there are certain ways you do things and certain ways that you don't like to do things. That's great because you're finding your style of knitting. And if you don't hold your yarn like somebody else does, it doesn't matter. You're doing it fine. You're doing it your way. And that's the best way. Okay, now as we're going, let's make sure we're lined up here with our ribbing. And then we can finish this ribbing section up. Okay, we finished our rib section, but we still have this little bit to go. But right now I want to zip this up. So I'm going to hold my yarns at the end, and I'm going to slowly pull it up and watch it just zip together. This is my favorite part. You don't want to do huge sections. Like you don't want to do, 10 inches worth of this and then zip it up. You work in sections. But there you go. So that's all zipped up now. And then this is what it looks like on the back. You have your seam. But isn't that cool? Can't even tell. Now we have to finish up because we can't just have this whole big side hanging out. So we're going to roll our fabric out. And we're going to look and see, okay, when we're doing this, we had increased stitches, then we did the stockinette, and then we did the decrease. So as you do this, you're going to be able to see that these stitches are lined up, these knit stitches, and then they get a little bit different as they decrease. So we are going to want to go to here, which is right before we decrease, seaming that all up. So make sure both sides are lined up. And you're not going to have a whole lot of room in here, but you need to open it up a little bit so it's flat. This time we're going to go in these V's because this is all stockinette. So we're going to go in, I ended up on this right side, or the side towards me. So I'm going to go in between, in those V's, you're going to see a bar. That's what you grab. On here, I'm going to go into this V. I'm going to use this bottom one. Now I'm going to go into this V. At the end of the V, you're going to see that bar. Grab it. Over here the same way. Grabbing the horizontal bars. And I'm going to go all the way up. I'm going to keep keep paying attention to see how far I'm going to go up, because I don't want to close this all the way in. But I can tell that I'm still going straight, so that's good. And as I get here, I can tell a big difference now. These are different than the stitches that I've been using. So I'm going to do this last stitch, and I'm done with that. Well, I'm going to go one more. Yeah, I'll do one more in here to finish that out. Okay, so that's going to be my thumb hole. But I still need to tighten these up. So this time I'm going to hold it at the beginning of the ribbing where we had done our last pull, and just slowly zip this up. And you see it just go right together. So now you can't even see the seam, but you can see where our thumb goes through. Now, just like we did up here at the top, we want to reinforce this a little bit. So I want you to go in one stitch on each side once, and then the second time, I just want you to go across one, okay? And you're done with that. Now we're going to do something with these tails, but for now, let's try this on to make sure that it's going to fit. Like your thumb hole is big enough, it's not too big, it's not too small, and that it fits. Look, that looks good to me. So next, we're going to finish this up, and we're going to get rid of these tails because we have to weave them in. We can't just cut them off, because if we cut them off, things will start to unravel. So next, we're going to weave these ends in, and then you'll have one mitt that's finished, and you can work on your next one.